Hey guys, Jeeps here, and welcome back to Tribes Ascend. So today we're going to be doing another look at a class post the Accelerate update. Let's see what goodies were dropped for everyone's favorite sniper, the Sentinel. Alright, so new primary, new secondary, and new belt. Let's start it off with primary, shall we? So, as a modification of the classic BXT-1 rifle, we now have the BXT-1A rifle. Yeah, big change up there. Alright, so the difference between these, this is an interesting one. They do exactly the same damage, have the same range, but the BXT-1A has a clip size of 1 higher, but has a decently longer recharge time. Now, for those of you who have never played Sentinel, the way their rifle works, or the basic rifle, the phase rifle's different, but I'm not going to go into that, is when you scope it, there's a little bar on your reticle which charges up, and it doesn't do full damage until it's charged up all the way. In fact, if you fire it from the hip, or just without letting it charge at all, it does barely anything. You cannot no-scope with these guns unless someone is on about 10 HP. Now, the BXT-1A will mean that you don't have to reload quite as often. So if you're really trying to, sight up that capper who's getting away with your flag, it helps in that regard. However, it's a longer delay before you can pull the trigger and do damage that's really even worth talking about. Whether that balances out well or not, I'm not sure. I don't really play Sentinel very often, so I don't have a good expert opinion on this one. Personally, just from my point of view, I would still look at the BXT-1, the basic rifle, as being superior just because while your clip size is 1 lower, you can get off that max 500 damage shot more quickly, and if you're a good sniper, that will probably be enough. Maybe you want that 1 extra shot before reloading if you're actually someone like me, who is an awful sniper, and just an awful shot in general, as you have all seen, but I don't know. Could go either way on this one. I personally like the basic BXT-1. Next, we have a bit more of a clear-cut difference in the Nova Blaster to the Nova Blaster MX, which I think I'm going to call the Nova Blaster Max, because it sounds awesome if you do that. Difference here is a damage and clip size change, as you have probably gotten used to with this update. It also has a higher fire rate. So, the Nova Blaster is a 12-shot clip pistol. It's projectile-based, not hit scan. Does 350 a shot. Relatively slow firing speed for a pistol, however. And the projectile bounces if it doesn't hit an enemy right away. The Nova Blaster MX has a decently quicker fire rate. Does 100 less damage per shot. It's only 250. Only 250 per shot on a pistol. Oh no, only 250. And has a clip size 4 higher base. So 16 as opposed to 12, I believe. That might be the unupgraded, but I believe that might be the full. It's 16 to 12, I know. Now, I would say the MX is a little bit better here. Yes, you're doing 100 less damage per tick, but you're losing those shots much quicker, and the 4 extra ammo is pretty nice. Again, the Nova Blaster is still very good. This is probably a bit more of a personal preference one once again, and arguably, from what I have seen, the Falcon is still going to be the best option, even after the damage nerfs to automatic, or not damage, the fall off and everything they've changed to made to automatic weapons in this update. The Falcon, I know, was hit by those. I am not sure exactly as to the exact changes. If it got reduced enough, the Nova Blaster and the Nova Blaster MX are probably going to be much more popular options than they were previously. So, I'd keep an eye on the Nova Blaster MX. I think it is pretty great, and I realize I forgot to keep calling it the Nova Blaster Max. And for that, I am truly sorry, viewers. I am truly sorry. I have let you down. Lastly, we have a new version of the Claymore mine. Now, this is an interesting one, because the Claymore mine, I always kind of think of them separately from Sentinels themselves, because you rarely see them anywhere near Sentinels. These are great at base defense. They get kind of used similarly to a Doombringer's mines. And the focused Claymore, the new one, has a longer blast radius, because the blast goes out from the front of these things. They don't just explode like a normal explosive. Has a smaller angle where it'll be triggered at. If you've ever seen one of these placed down, there's kind of a little V-shaped, like, red lights kind of going out from at an angle from them. And you have to kit these, when you come within that V, or cone, that's the word I'm looking for, cone, is when they're triggered. Focus Claymore has a narrower one of these, but a longer blast radius. Or distance, I guess. Radius doesn't really fit when it's a straight line. So, oh, and also at a longer distance. These, I think, are going to be another very personal preference one, or maybe even map-dependent one. I could see it in places, say, Arx Novena, in the corridors, if you're doing a side run on the flag stand. Claymores are fantastic in there as it is. These will just kill you that much sooner, because you don't have really room to avoid them in the first place, narrow angle or not. Again, I think this one is purely personal preference. The T5 grenade is also very, very good. This gives you a much more personal defense, whereas the Claymore is more for base defense apart from you as a Sentinel. So, personal preference on this one. Now, that pretty much leaves the only one that I can see as being a clear winner, again, in my personal opinion, being the BXT-1 here. Anyways, let us hop into some target practice, take a look at all the damage and specs as best we can. Claymores will be a little tricky to get that measured out exactly. And then we'll conclude on this topic, shall we? Alright guys, I will see you in there. Alright, here we are on a nice little sniping hill above our favorite opponents, and I have to be the first to say I may be eating my words here on AtnaGaming, because I seem to have remembered in my head the recharge time on the BXT-1A being a hell of a lot longer than it actually was. Best I can tell, it's about a half-second longer than the BXT-1. They're both right around 3 seconds, with the BXT-1 feeling like it's hitting almost exactly 3 seconds. This one feels just slightly longer. So actually, the BXT-1A is probably almost equivalent. As you can see, there you go, that's fully charged. Right around like that. It does 500 damage on the full. If you are a Sentinel, you've probably already made your choice on this, or maybe you're using the phase rifle anyway. It's all personal preference. Really, the more I look at it, the less I think there's any real substantial difference between these two. The slightly shorter recharge time, in my opinion though, will still, maybe in a pinch, beat out the reloading time. I can just see if you're really trying to take down that capper, if he's still got a lot of health left, you probably want those shots to be at 500 damage, and that half second will make all the difference on someone who's going, you know, 250 to 300 kilometers an hour. Now, let us look at our great... Sorry, I thought I had already switched over to the Nova Blaster Max. See, I remembered it that time. Let us check out the wonderful Nova Blaster Max. As you can see, relatively quick fire rate for 250 a tick. Yeah, take that. Take that! Right in your head. And there's the bouncing for you. Angle, do some trick shots here. I like this thing. I like it quite a lot better than the regular Nova Blaster. That fire rate just makes all the difference. 100 damage less or not, 250 is still pretty incredible. Extra clip size and extra speed. I'd say, again, okay, personal preference, but for me, this one's a winner. Not even an argument. Now, let's just look at the quick difference between the Claymore mines. Let's wait for this guy. This is the regular Claymore. You can see, I'm gonna... Did I hit him? I did. Pretty wide angle. It does go out farther than the lines on the Claymore show. And just to compare it, here is the focused Claymore. And again, my apologies. I should have set this up in advance. I am a doofus. Alright, focused Claymore, show me your thing. Okay, that is a much narrower cone of view, we can say. There we go. There we go. Alright. They do good damage. They're great defensive weapons. You know how Claymores work if you're using Claymores, admittedly. I think those two, again, can be personal preference, / based on which map you're using them on. Certain situations, one's going to be better than the other. And if you're putting them right next to the flag anyway, well, let's be honest, they're probably going to get blown up by a spin fuser. So it doesn't matter. Hey, alright, guys, that has been me for today. As always, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment if you have anything you'd like to discuss with me. I am AtnaShadow in-game. Feel free to friend me. If you do, please leave me a comment saying who you are, or send me a personal message. Either way, I just like knowing who's following me, so I can say hi or whatever. And I won't be completely confused when I see these people on my lists. Alright, guys, that's it for me for now. As always, I've been Jeeps. Talk to you guys later.